Hello, 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 Transurfer and Transurfing Curious. My name is Renee Garcia, y'all, and this is TransurfingTV. And it is official. I am dropping my premium content course, if you want to call it that. I'm kind of calling it like an educational experience at this point, simply because I kind of have a feeling like people are tired of courses. There's like course for this, course for that, courses everywhere. So this is going to be an educational experience given through the power of storytelling, really, and my own practical experiences with these concepts. The content is going to be based around removing the programming, deeply embedded programming that's no longer serving you, learning how to override that programming with optimal and superior programs. And it's going to have a very, very heavy tilt on script jumping, which I kind of feel is like a powerful way to exit the matrix. I'm going to go into this topic like super deep, and it's going to be one of my really meaty hour-long videos. I know that a lot of you stated that you actually prefer these long videos. I was a bit surprised myself. I told my boyfriend that most of you had voted for the hour videos. He was like, God damn, I can't imagine listening to you for an hour. So I appreciate your feedback. This is going to be a meaty topic. I'm going to talk about some of the points of exiting the matrix. I'll go into detail of what the new content is about. The link is below for it, along with all the other links and the Facebook group and the website. Check it all out. It is all there. So exiting the matrix, first of all, and I'm not going to go too much into what the course is about exactly right now. I'll do that a little bit later. But it is going to be about really taking a very sobering look at the programming that you're adhering to that's no longer serving you, how to override that programming with optimal, superior programming, and how this programming essentially attracts new scripts that you can jump on. And this is sort of how I perceive what I've done with my life, which is going to be this is what the lesson is going to be about. I can only speak from my own personal experience though, and I have a feeling that a lot of you can absolutely relate to my story, but these concepts, especially when it comes to script jumping and reprogramming your mind and all that kind of stuff, this is really universal. It's about, and it will work for anyone in any situation whatsoever, but it's about opening your mind to understand exactly how these concepts translate to your specific experience of reality and what it is that you want for yourself, higher and better options in this world. So strong emphasis on programming, script jumping. And this video and also the premium content has a really, I don't even know how to say this because I don't want to sound like a provocateur. I know this concept isn't for everyone, but it has definitely worked for me. And this is the idea of like really getting into your layer of reality and rebelling and defying standards and deviating from conventional scripts. So it does come with a bit of a warning. My test subjects, my guinea pigs, if you will, that listen to this premium content, they're like, you definitely want to emphasize the warning. So I'm going to emphasize the warning in advance. Anybody that's opting into this you're on your own. It's dynamic knowledge. It can plunge you into that vast sea of variables, which I, talked about in my last video, which was hard even for me with my skill set to sort of navigate because everything was so new and foreign and fresh. So this is definitely, I don't want to say it's an advanced course. Anyone can take it if you're new to transurfing or you are, an expert transurfer. But this is kind of coming with like one of those code red labels. International Transurfing Institute holds zero liability for what you do with this knowledge. So I just want to throw that out there. I'll get into a little bit more of what the course entails exactly towards the end of this video, but I want to like jump right into the content and really just try to adequately relay how I started and how this knowledge has helped me to arrive at where I am today. I learn a lot when I make these series and this content and courses because I have to really draw very powerfully on my past experiences. And one of the things that I realized in this last round with this knowledge is that I really did make lemonade out of lemons, because the environment that I was brought up in, I had really limited options. I am probably referred to, I know that my uncle, who's a psychologist and actually just wrote his own book called The Marginalized Child. I realized that, looking back on my childhood, I was very much the marginalized child. And I was pushed out to kind of the fringes of reality already. I wasn't seen or heard. I was neglected. I wasn't really cared for by the adults in my life. I wasn't educated. I didn't have anyone instilling any, self-esteem or trying to build me up or any of that kind of stuff. And I know that a lot of you can definitely relate to that piece. So as I discuss at lengths in Exiting the Matrix, there's really two ways of hacking the matrix and achieving success within the matrix. The first way is that you adhere 100% to the standards that the pendulums have set before you, and you do this, very, very well and flawlessly, and you kind of ace it, right? And this takes you to some great heights. But then the other method is to sort of defy it altogether. And looking back retrospectively on what I was given, how I was sort of thrown into the world with no skills, no education. I was really like, I hate to use this word, but, and I know it's a controversial word, but I was retarded in a lot of ways. And I mean retarded, not like mentally retarded, but I mean like my growth was, I was crippled up until the time of like 25 with depression and anxiety, to the point like I couldn't move, I couldn't function. My level of learned helplessness was off the charts. I was stunted. Stunted's probably the better word to use than retarded. Okay, so I was stunted. My growth was stunted, and I had limited options. So I'm on the fringes, right? But at the same time, I'm highly intelligent, and my intellect is like seriously up there. I remember taking an IQ test in my mid-20s and being shocked when it said that I had the same IQ as Bill Clinton. I was like, what? How can that possibly be? So there was this dichotomy, this polarized sort of situation where on one hand, I'm stunted, had been neglected, marginalized child, seriously like skillless and really no means to do anything with my life. And on the other hand, I had this high level of intelligence. So I knew inherently that I was going to have to get creative if I wanted to do something, if I wanted to be something or have something or even survive, really. I mean, that's what it boils down to. So I knew that I had to get creative, and I knew that I wasn't going, now take into consideration when I say this is my old thinking. My thinking has since evolved, and I no longer feel this statement that I'm going to say. But back then I absolutely did. So this was the idea that I felt as though I wasn't capable of achieving any type of success or happiness or evolution by conventional means. I didn't think that I could become educated. I didn't think that people would take me seriously if I were to try to, jump into the corporate world. So I continued to sort of live on the fringes of reality. And I've really done this my entire life. I mean, I'll be the first to admit, and again, this is a powerful insight that I've accessed it before in the past for sure, but in doing this latest series and creating this latest series, I realized to the extent that I have been marginalized in a way my entire life and living on the fringes of reality my entire life. So transurfing comes in and offers me some information that is like infinitely valuable. And I dive deep into this in the content, and this knowledge is that there are two ways to success. There are doing everything exactly the way that the pendulums want you to, and then there are, defying the standards and being the rebel and being the maverick and doing things your own way, creating, kind of like blazing your own paths, but these paths are already blazed. That's the cool thing about script jumping, is they're already there. I just had to, and I'm really grateful that I had the insights to do this before it was too late in my 20s, when, I was like in my mid 20s and I still couldn't hold a job down to save my life and couldn't provide for myself. I was drowning in debt. I was an absolute wreck of a person, but I realized that I was going to have to take some bold and daring moves and defy the standards in an industry that I had set my sights on. And this was going to be the way for me. The other option, I didn't feel it was a possibility. So this was 10 years before I even found transurfing. Obviously, when I found transurfing, I realized exactly why I had achieved success and why I had sort of broken out of the maze and escaped the matrix in my own way at that time. Now, the interesting part about this community, now I know a lot of you watching these videos are the exception, but there are a lot of people that come here, and to any self-help modality. I don't think transurfing is, I think transurfing may have like a little bit more of a, kind of shining lure effect, like a fishing lure, like over here, this is a shiny new object that's going to take you anywhere you want to go. And it seems like it's the fast track shortcut for exiting the matrix, creating your own reality, choosing the new script of your choice and all that kind of stuff. And it absolutely can be. But the caveat is that you're only able to take a step that coincides with that level of consciousness that you're currently operating at. And at this time in my life where I realized, and I talk about this extensively in A Tale of Practical Reality Transurfing, if you haven't read those or listened to those audios, I mean, this is like as practical as it gets. The links are below for those. You know, I realized that like I was in my own way boldly taking certain steps to help me elevate to higher life tracks, escape things like poverty mentality, and again, learned helplessness and crushingly low issues with self-esteem, like really serious. Oh my God, you guys. I was at a point in my life, I was paralyzed. And when I say paralyzed, I don't mean that as like it was hard for me to move. I was in an absolute frozen state where I sat for long periods of time doing absolutely nothing because I was just scared shitless. I mean, I really had nothing to draw on internally. I had no like structure of positive thinking about myself, attributes, things that I felt were like valued parts of who I was, or seeing myself in a way where I felt intelligent or meaningful to something. Like I was empty, like a completely empty human being. When I think back on what I used to be like and who I am today, this is a testimony to this exact knowledge and the power that it holds, but it is not instant. Again, you're only going to climb those levels of reality that coincide with your level of consciousness as you currently hold. And people come to this thing and they're like, okay, well, I want $1 million and I want to be, you know, I know this is a shocking one, but I do get this sometimes and it is quite shocking to me, and I don't always know how to answer these questions. But like I get a fair amount of people that find transurfing and they read it and they realize that their kids were a mistake. Like they still have young kids at home and they suddenly feel trapped. They're like, okay, how do I transurf myself out of my family environment? And I'm just like, it's not really like that. I mean, I guess you can take drastic measures and do something really wild, but it's more about managing practically what's in your reality right now, the static parts of your reality that are immovable, like kids, and raising your level of consciousness, raising your level of awareness, negotiating the deal with the pendulum to the extent that you can take back just a little bit for yourself, enough that you can do something with it and see some means of success, which you then can then recognize and then feel as though you're making some headway. And this pertains to anything that you're navigating in your reality with the transurfing methods, and seeing like that progress and capturing like, okay, this is movement, this is change, this is evolution, taking a mental snapshot. I'm better today than I was yesterday. Then tomorrow I'm going to be better than I am today. And you can, in a lot of ways, exit the matrix instantly. Like if you want to make some drastic physical movements in your life, you're free to do that. Those things are going to come with consequences, but you are free to do that. But more so, you can wake yourself up. You can choose to activate your awareness and really set the intention to constantly return to that center screen, that center place of awareness. Over time, this becomes habit. Your awareness builds, your consciousness increases. And then as reality presents to you yet another way to level up, as long as your consciousness matches that level, you're fucking good to go. You're good to go. But you're not going to come to transurfing and make immense moves right now when you're still stuck in the matrix, being triggered like a motherfucker, being ripped to shreds by pendulums. Mostly, and I talk about this a lot in Exiting the Matrix, if you're not willing to do what it is that you know you need to do for yourself, this could be ending a toxic relationship with a boyfriend, girlfriend, husband, wife, family member, something or other. This could be, exiting a job that you feel has been keeping you confined for years, yet you've been afraid. And this is where I, start to fringe on some of these topics that I have a little bit of a hard time talking about, because I don't want to compel anyone to do anything that they are not ready to do. This is where my role in this becomes a little bit tricky. But I do know, speaking from my own personal experiences in life, there were definitely times that my consciousness and my awareness was increasing, and I did see lucidly and vividly that there were components of my reality that were keeping me back, holding me back, but I didn't do what I needed to do because I was too comfortable, or it was too scary to go on my own, or it was too something that I didn't want to deal with. I actually dealt with this in a pretty massive way when I was in my late 20s, and I had learned quite a bit about the industry that I was in, the jewelry business, and I was still working underneath an ex-partner. And, getting back to those issues with self-esteem and feeling as though I was inadequate or I didn't have what it took or something like that, I stayed kind of under his wing in the shadows. And I felt compelled to break out on my own for a while, but I didn't do it purely out of fear, purely out of fear. And when I did that, that was kind of the first time that I really took something for myself in this world and threw myself into an environment where I had to fucking level up. There was no option. Once I took those training wheels off, I had my own office. I was going to the trade shows by myself with my checkbook. It was scary because there was a lot of money involved, and there was a ton of risk. And I'm going to get into this topic, being risk averse compared to risk tolerant, and what actions like this can do for you in your life starting today if you are feeling like it is time to level up, if it's time to exit something, if it's time to break down the walls of the maze. So I had limited options, marginalized childhood. I woke up late, right? I woke up late. And I know some of you are waking up late too. You're waking up, some of you are waking up in your 30s and 40s, which is in a lot of ways really, really, really ideal, because you're waking up, yet you have maybe a little bit more of a foundation to work from, or you have a little more money saved, or you have a little more stability, or, there are some conditions there that actually support a little more so somebody finding this knowledge much younger. I really do feel as though this path is best. I mean, I didn't really wake up until I was 35 years old. So thank God I had, some experiences and some things to draw from that I could use with a matched level of consciousness to kind of take it sort of to the next level. And it has been climbing a staircase ever since then, or a ladder, or however you want to look at it. But again, and I'll just reiterate this one last time, a lot of people come to this knowledge and they get disenchanted because they think transurfing, they're just gonna like, boom, fucking jump from level 0, bottomed out, depressed, feeling like crap, hating life, no options, and then you're suddenly gonna be on level 10. This is a lifestyle. I'm never going to stop transurfing, and I am never, ever going to feel as though I have learned it all. I am just as fresh as a lot of people just coming to this knowledge in a lot of ways. I've just mastered certain parts of this knowledge, but you know, I forever want to be a student of this stuff. I never want to feel as though I've gotten it. That would be, for me, the time when I'm ready to exit this life, right? That's my final stage. It's definitely not going to be right now. So I've operated out of the system pretty much my entire life. There were times when I tried to kind of like do things. Oh God, man, when I was looking at pictures of myself for the Tale of Practical Reality Transurfing chapters, I think it was chapter 2, where I went through a bunch of old pictures of me to pull some to show people, like, look at this piece of shit I was. And oh my God, I was like a total piece of shit. There were pictures of me and I'm looking at them, and I remember even saying something to Lucy about it. I was like, I do not recognize that person. Like, it is fucking wild that it was me. There was a picture of me on a boat, and I had like this little tiny mini skirt on, and I was super skinny because I was doing like the LA, adhering to standards like crazy, to the point where it was very, very unhealthy. I weighed like 105 pounds, and I had this little mini skirt on, and I had thigh-high boots, and my hair was, this big red kind of mane, and I'm smoking a cigarette, and I was just like, okay, I guess there are some parts of me that haven't changed like that much, but it was more the essence of who I was then. I look at that version of me, and I was like so hell-bent on cramming myself into a box with a set of standards, by a set of standards that ultimately, like, not only were they not helping me, but they were massively damaging to me. Like, damaging to me that if I had a bad hair day, if I got a zit, my world would come undone, because it was like the only thing that I actually felt confident about at that stage in my life was my image, and I wouldn't like waking up with a boyfriend, I would like get out of bed and I would go and take a shower and put my makeup on and do my hair and stuff. And I get ready for these videos. I, fix myself up a little bit. But more or less, like, I have let go of all that shit. I am makeup free 95% of the time. I wear baseball hats and sweats, and I just don't give a shit anymore. And I know this probably sounds like kind of a minimal point, but for me, this has been a massive moving meditation in exiting the matrix, because what I was attempting to adhere to when I was trying to stuff myself into the box of Los Angeles appearance standards crippled me. Other things were crippling to me as well, like, hanging out with the right people, or trying to do the stuff that looks so cool so I could talk about it with other shitty people so they'd think I was cool. And I was just in a constant state of wanting to wanting to validate myself externally. I mean, it was everything to me, to the point where I was not myself. My thoughts were not my own. I was conforming to a box of standards and you know, things that just weren't ultimately feeding me anything. And waking up from this, along with a bunch of other things, this has been, again, a moving meditation in me exiting the matrix. It's not one single step. It's not one massive move. It's understanding, and this is for, you know, for you that is really, really ready to do the work. It's for you to get in there and ask yourself, what am I attempting to do that is no longer serving me? Like, who am I trying to be that is not me? Why am I trying to do it? And this course, Exiting the Matrix, is exactly on how to do this stuff. Exactly what perspective, to the point where I need to issue a warning because, as Evie said, one of my test guinea pigs, I love that, like, I'm kind of like a mad scientist that's sort of like mixing up these concoctions, these reality transurfing concoctions, and then I have like my little test group of transurfing junkies that are just as enthusiastic about this stuff as me. And I'm like, hey, you want to be a test subject? And they're like, yeah. I'm like, I don't know what's going to happen. They're like, I don't care. I'm willing to roll the dice. So I messaged her after because I was like a little nervous. I'm thinking, oh my God, I hope this doesn't fuck someone up. And I messaged her after I know she's listened to the content. And I'm like, what do you think? And she's like, dude, my brain is fucking broken in half. And in a good way, in a good way. But this is what happens when you set the intention to develop a new perspective in which you see yourself and your life and what it is you've been doing, why it is that you're doing it, why you continue to follow patterns that may not be, you know, at best, allowing you to achieve the results that are beneficial to you, but at worst, keeping you in destructive places with a destructive mindset and a destructive set and decorations. There's someone in the Facebook community, and it kind of blows my mind. This person has been watching videos and in the ITI community for like the last 3 years and still is just asking the most basic questions about pendulums and why pendulums are just ripping them apart and how to deal. And it's still like level 0. And I can see it so clearly. These sorts of questions: why am I doing what I'm doing? Who am I? Why am I adhering to set standards and not following through with pulling the plug, pulling the ripcord, you know, on the things that is not serving this person, which are some pretty massive things, but this person is an adult and it's not children. So it's not like they, you know, it's not super complicated. It's stuff that this person absolutely could separate from, but they're simply choosing not to. They're simply choosing not to. And it blows my mind because it really does, at the end of the day, boil down to, are you prepared to do what it is that you need to do? Pulling that ripcord, matching up with your current level of consciousness with what it is that your world's offering you. This video could be a blaring sign, woo, you know, of knowledge coming to you, trying to get to you. And are you receiving it? Or are you saying, or are you still making excuses of why you can't take the steps that you know you need to take to level up, getting at least a foot out the matrix. Then it's the other foot. Then it's climbing the ladder or the staircase or whatever it is. This is really how it's done. It's a process. It's long. It's arduous at times. I know this doesn't sound transurfing, but you know, this whole like, oh, I'm just going to have the exact life that I want in an instant. I hope to God you do. I hope to God you do. For me, there's been a little more to it, but I'm happy that I've stayed the course and I continue to like want to learn and want to level up. So operating outside of the system, I've always done this, and it has brought me to a place, and I realize that this is part and parcel where a lot of my success comes from, is that a lot of people are living their lives adverse to risk, right? In a constant state of risk assessment. You know, oh, it's too risky to, and I'm not telling anybody to do this shit, okay? I'm really not. These are abstract thoughts, and what you do with them is your own. But, you know, somebody could say something like, it's too risky right now to end my marriage and go out into the world on my own. The economy is really screwed up and times are tough, and we may not be able to sell our house for as much as we could have sold it for a couple years ago, or whatever the excuses are to bring into a situation where there is some sort of risk assessment involved in your decision making. I am fortunate enough, and I have consciously done this to myself, that I have become very, very comfortable with risk. Extremely comfortable. I have conditioned myself for risk. I mean, I'm not going to get into it too much. I'll tell you one little story that'll kind of relay, but like what I did yesterday, I realized it was a business move. It was pretty wild. And when I was in the middle of a transaction that was super crazy, and I'm at a moment where I'm by myself and I'm performing a certain task for the transaction, and I stopped and I thought to myself, there is no one you know, Renee, that has the balls to do this. Like, whatever you are going to gain from this business transaction, you fucking deserve it because you have the balls to do this thing right now. And I could legitimately not call to mind a single person in my life that I feel would have had the balls to do what I did yesterday. And this is a lot about exiting the matrix. This is if you can get yourself to a place where you are conditioned to be comfortable in the presence of risk, this is liberating beyond anything. Importance has a massive amount to do with this, because when we are adverse to risk and we're cautious of that every move, and there's a lot of importance on, God, well, if this goes wrong, then what am I going to do? And if I do this, then what's going to happen? And what are people going to think of me? And if I lose this, then I'm going to be worse off than you know, what I was previously. And this is the jail cell of the matrix. This is the confines. This is exactly what the pendulums want you to think and feel and do, because then you will stay confined to your little jail cell, risk adverse and scared to make any moves. When you become comfortable with risk, the jail door opens and you have the ability to walk out. And I have done a ton of risky shit in my life with business, and I have won a lot of deals, and I have lost some deals too. And I've lost some painful deals, I'll admit. I had one last year that was pretty damn painful. It was a gut punch, and I wasn't expecting it, but I was like, give it to me. When I knew it was coming, I was like, yeah, give it to me. Because I knew if I could like take that gut punch, boom, and it hurt, I was like, oh, and I was like, give it to me again. Because I don't ever want to wince, right? I don't want to ever run. I don't want to ever not do something strategically because I'm afraid of getting that gut punch. That gut punch is what is going to help me condition myself for the future deals that are going to earn me much more exponentially than that once in a while gut punch. And it really is just a once in a while gut punch. The other day I was at a notary bureau with my attorney here in Tbilisi doing some crazy ass deal. And as we were talking about the deal, the notary woman, she looked at me and she goes, wow, you must really like danger. And I was like, I wasn't expecting her to say that. And she's like, that's crazy that you do that. You must really like danger. And she says, oh, you just moved here and you're already doing this? You must really like danger. And I thought to myself, it's not that I like danger. I don't really view things like that. I'm willing to do what it takes to step outside of my comfort zone and do what it is that I need to do to level up. And removing that risk-adverse programming, that fearfulness, that trapped inside of myself with no self-esteem and feeling fearful of every move. I've just inverted that shit and gone to the other side of the spectrum, and it has served me well. It has served me well. So I know this isn't for everyone, but again, all I can talk about is what has worked for me. I know that a lot of people that come to transurfing are in the corporate world and they want to excel in the corporate world. You can use this stuff just as much, as with the stuff that I'm talking about. It's just how you're going to apply it to your specific circumstances. So again, really starting to take a look at how you deal with risk, how you perceive risk, how you approach risk, and what it is you are willing to do to level up. I mean, this is an absolute game changer. I know I touched briefly on importance, but I realized in doing this last course that importance really is the glue which keeps us confined to that matrix grid. Importance is it's your mental perception on how standards need to be adhered to the extent that you fuse to those standards and you live with those standards and you kind of like live and die by those standards. I mean, I don't really know the other words to describe it. I have people in my life right now that have done everything. I have a pretty vast potpourri of fascinating characters in my life. And then I also have my family, which some of them are still on level 1 who have never quite gotten it, right? So I have seen people defy standards. I have seen people to success. I have seen people conform to standards to success. And I have seen people be absolutely devoured by importance and standards and all that kind of stuff. Again, as I'm going to start to wrap this video up, exiting the matrix is about you consciously, really with absolute lucidity, starting the journey today moving through what it is you need to do and anticipating that this might not be a few steps. This might be steps for the rest of your life. But who the fuck cares? You know, I always find it amazing when people contact me and they're like, oh God, it really does blow my mind when people say things like, I'll get an email and somebody will say, could you just give me the quick breakdown of transurfing? I don't have time to read that book. And I think to myself, what else are you doing? What else could possibly be more important than you evolving as a human being and taking the steps that you have come here to take? So it's like, for me, when I encountered transurfing for the very first time, on my phone, scrolling through Instagram, doom scrolling, you know, no direction in life. I was just kind of like a vapid wasteland of a human. So I'm doom scrolling on Instagram and I see somebody say, have you ever heard of reality transurfing? And I was like, what? What is that? And I go over to Wikipedia, and when Transurfing used to have a Wikipedia page, and I see the little description, and I was like, holy shit, this is for me. So then I go and I listen to the audiobook, and I'm like, this is really, really for me. This is what I've been waiting for. This is exactly what I need right now. So I don't do that and then be like, but it's too hard. I'm going to go watch Netflix instead. I'm going to go complain about my life. I'm going to go be verbally abused by my boyfriend or get drunk or continue to doom scroll until, you know, oblivion. Your world's given it to you, right? And if your level of consciousness is matched with the knowledge that is flowing right up to you, what else could possibly be more important than dedicating yourself to fucking taking the bull by the horns, doing what you need to do, and leveling up as a human being in your version of reality and exiting the matrix that brought you to the place that you even felt the need to find something like reality transurfing. Lots of people search, but then they find the thing that they're looking for and they're like, oh, that's too hard, it's too big, I've got too much going on. And that video, How to Become a Full-Time Transurfer, I definitely recommend that video. That's my own way of doing this. And it's in this full-time approach that I have been able to exit the matrix. There is no 1 foot in and 1 foot out. You can't hate your reality and your circumstances and at the same time change it. You have to take that foot out of being discontent or dissatisfied with your current experience of reality and simply switch over to full-time transurfer mode and do all of the things that you need to do. There is no riding the line on that one. And I know that most people that don't get the results they want, that's because they want to do it their own way. And this is totally, it's totally acceptable to do things your own way. But if you think that watching a video or listening to a chapter one time of the audiobook or taking a single course, these courses that I've developed, Rapid Materialization, Magic, Quantum Clearing Method, Anomalous Action Challenge, and now Exiting the Matrix, this is powerful, heavy hitting shit. This is not something that you just listen to once and be like, oh yeah, that was cool, and now I'm going to move on. You're not going to see benefits like that. Don't waste your money. Don't waste your time. These are things to like embed into your programming and actually live by them so you can legitimately reap the benefits. So I want to invite anyone that is interested in exiting the matrix to join us. There's going to be some super cool stuff that's going to happen as a kind of celebration of this course. I have decided, first of all, that the bonus is going to be Tufty 2.0, which is a powerful set of audios that really distill the Tufty lessons. And there's a lot of Tufty in Exiting the Matrix, so it's a really good, it complements it very, very well. But for those of you that have already taken Tufty 2.0, I thought, God, I gotta give you all something else. So what I would like to offer, and this is for any Georgians, people of the Republic of Georgia that are watching, because I've been tagging people on my social media for Tbilisi and Georgia, and I've noticed that a number of Georgians have started to follow me and watch my videos. For anyone that purchases Exiting the Matrix, I am going to gift a Georgian citizen carte blanche, a full scholarship to the ITI courses. And the reason that I'm doing so is because Georgia is a developing country if I've ever seen one. The average Georgian makes $200 US a month. And there are many, many, many programs and scripts running here that are, as I perceive it, keeping Georgians resonating with poverty mentality in a very substantial and serious way. I'm actually going to talk my friend Nutsi. I hope you're watching this, Nutsi, and I hope that it's okay that I say this, but I'm going to talk my friend Nutsi, who lives here in Tbilisi and is also a transurfer, to film some videos with me that are translated just for non-English speaking Georgians in this country. That is my gift to the Georgian people. So anyone that opts into this is going to be giving someone here a full scholarship to our masterclass, and that is my gift to the Georgian people as well. I hope that it will be received at least by a handful of Georgians. And again, Tufty 2.0, it's powerful. You're also going to get the center screen seminar, which is a huge part of Exiting the Matrix. My God, when you are sucked into the outer screen or you are sucked into your inner screen, there is no Exiting the Matrix. It is found in the center screen, and I have an entire seminar on exactly this concept, and it is groundbreaking stuff. So the course is going to have 4 high quality modules. We did a super cool thing where we created a PDF that is a visually stunning, really cool, like magazine style layout of all the content. I believe it's almost 40 pages long, so it's quite significant, matching audio files, and then I've got an hour-long questioning video on Exiting the Matrix and removing programming and switching scripts and all that kind of stuff. And I know I say this with every course, but it is true. This is absolutely my best content. My consciousness, my awareness level, my, leveling up each time I kind of move through these stages and these, script jumping experiences myself. I get myself to a higher place, and then what it is that I create is even higher than my previous works. I look back on Reality 2.0, it's an epic course, but my God, these last 4 things that I've created are like, this is my pride and joy. It's what I live by, and I hope that you all that have opted in continue to benefit. And for those of you that haven't, definitely invited to do so. We'll have a Zoom call for support and questions, and then of course the supporting Reality 2.0 Facebook group. So with that, I will bid you all adieu, and I'll leave everyone with this. And I said this in the last module of the new content, quote by Vadim Zeland: once you let go of the script lets go of you. And I know there's a lot of people around the world, lots of different circumstances, lots of different challenges, but I want to promise every single person that watches this video, especially if you've made it all the way to the end, I want to promise that I know you probably think Yeah, it all sounds great, and I'm sure others can do it, but I can't. And I want to promise you that you can do it. You can do this. If anyone would have told me, especially when I was younger, my God, and I talk about this in the modules of this series, where I was mentally and what I thought about myself and my life. If anyone would have told me that I would be in this position right now, doing the things that I'm doing, making the moves in my reality, taking the risks, doing epic business shit, trying to teach you guys how it is that I'm leveling up and all this stuff, if anyone would have tried to explain this scenario to me, I would have laughed and said, you most certainly have me confused with someone else that is not me and I'm just not capable. And I can see now that I was always capable. I just needed to connect with the right information at the right moments and continue to raise my level of consciousness to connect with that next higher thing. And this is leveling up. And it doesn't matter how low you are right now. And if you're in Georgia and you're watching this and you're like, God damn, this chick's full of shit. You know, yeah, we're making $200 a month and that's never going to change. And, you know, I'm just going to be satisfied with what I have because wanting for more just always leaves me disappointed. You know, I mean, I grew up in a family of 6 in a trailer park on the outskirts of Modesto, California. And I know that probably doesn't mean anything to you, but it's pretty much the butthole of California. And I grew up in a trailer park, and there was a period of time where my mom had the only job and my dad was unemployed, and we were living off of like $8 an hour, a family of 6, and for US standards, it was poverty level. And you can rise up out of it. You absolutely can rise up out of it, but you have to make the moves. You have to take the steps. You have to learn what you can now and at least give yourself a fucking fighting chance, you know? So with that, I will bid you all adieu. I'm going to stop running my mouth for the time being. I'm almost up at my hour. The clock is run out. Any questions, please ask them below. I'm more than happy to provide any answers to anything about this course, anything that I've talked about today. Please come into the Facebook group, link below. And I just wish everybody the best. From the bottom of my heart, I wish you a higher and better reality. And I hope that you can take the steps that you need to take today to do the things that you need to do to level up like a motherfucker and get yourself to some of those higher levels of reality. So thank you all so much for watching this, and see ya on the next round. Bye.